It all started with a fire. A sudden, sharp smell of smoke filled the air, and then the orange glow. My first thought was for everyone's safety. Daisy, my partner of many years, was there, and so was her assistant, a young man named Leo. In the chaos, as flames licked at the walls, Daisy instinctively moved to shield Leo. Even as I saw the angry red marks blooming on her skin, she insisted on getting him to the hospital first. It was understandable. He was her responsibility at work. But in the thick, acrid smoke, I passed out. I don't remember much, just the suffocating darkness. I woke up in the sterile, beeping environment of the intensive care unit. A month had gone by. A whole month of my life vanished into a haze of pain and recovery. It was a long, slow climb back to consciousness, each breath a victory. When I finally opened my eyes properly, the first thing I did was reach for my phone. There was a message from Daisy. It wasn't a question about how I was, or a simple, "I'm glad you're awake." It was an instruction. She said Leo had been hospitalized these past few days, and she wanted me to make him his favorite soup and take it over. My heart sank like a stone in a deep well. In that moment, lying weak and vulnerable, I saw Daisy with a clarity I'd never possessed before. The day I was finally discharged from the hospital, my eyes still red and stinging from the smoke, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to cancel our upcoming IVF appointment. The second was to book a flight abroad, leaving in just 3 days. From that point on, a cold distance settled between Daisy and me. We moved around each other like strangers in our own home, our paths diverging. Just as the confirmation text for my flight purchase arrived on my phone, Daisy called. Her voice was sharp, accusatory. "Alan, what did you buy that cost so much? Do you think money grows on trees? Everything about IVF costs money. Do you even still want a child or not?" Faced with her interrogation, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. I had been fighting for my life in a hospital bed for half a month, and she hadn't called once to check on me. Now, the moment I spent a couple of $1,000s, she couldn't wait to reprimand me. Standing at the entrance of the hospital where I'd just been released, I took a deep breath and said, my voice steady, "Yeah, I don't want to do IVF anymore." There was a pause on the other end, a beat of silence. Then Daisy laughed, a short, sarcastic burst of air. "Oh, throwing attitude now, huh?" she said. "It's just a bowl of soup for Leo. Why are you freaking out? He's capable and young. He helps me so much at work. Look at you. You're not exactly 18 anymore." Her words, though delivered with a dismissive tone, still felt like a tiny blade twisting in my chest. Before, I would have been flustered, tried to explain, to justify. But seeing her rush to save Leo from the fire, without even a glance in my direction as I lay unconscious, something inside me had gone numb. Thanks to Daisy's casual reminder, a memory surfaced. They had been together when they were 18. That was 12 years ago. 12 years in which they had always seemed ready to start a family. But for some reason, Daisy had never gotten pregnant. We had tried IVF, gone through the emotional and physical toll, yet she would always find reasons to cancel appointments, often without even telling me. Now, a cold realization dawned. Maybe even the universe was trying to tell me that we weren't meant to be. I hung up the phone, the click echoing in the sudden silence. With a heavy heart, I walked over to the bedside table and tossed my wedding ring and the dried-up bouquet of our wedding flowers into the trash can. During my entire month in the hospital, Daisy hadn't visited me even once. She had sent over a small vase of red roses a few days after the fire, along with a card. The words were simple. "Love you as before." For a fleeting moment, I had felt a pang of something akin to being touched. But then, I saw Daisy's new post on social media. It was a picture of Leo standing amidst a breathtaking display of 999 red roses, a wide, happy grin on his face. The caption read, "Thanks to the beautiful CEO for the release gift and for the month of care." Just a moment later, Daisy had commented below, "It's only right to care for you. Seeing you suffer makes my heart ache too. Too bad the card got lost. I'll write you a letter next time." It finally clicked. Those words on the card, the roses she had sent me, they were leftovers, meant for Leo, and my place in her heart was just as dispensable. A taxi pulled up outside my house just as Daisy was heading out. Seeing me getting out with luggage, her face hardened into a scowl. "Where the hell have you been this past month? The house is filthy and you didn't clean up. Don't want to work? And now I have to do the chores too?" I was about to ask if she had forgotten that I was at the fire scene too, that I had just spent a month in the hospital, when her phone rang. It was Leo. "Daisy, where are you? I miss you." The moment she answered, Daisy's face softened, a genuine smile spreading across her lips. She walked out, her voice light and cheerful, reminding me to clean up as she went. Even as she walked away, her happy laughter echoed in the quiet street. My hand clenched into a tight fist. I finally saw my true place in her world. Years by her side, through thick and thin, never a complaint. But I couldn't go on like this any longer. 3 attempts at entering the code at the front door failed before I realized Daisy had changed it. I texted her, asking for the new code, but there was no response. In the freezing cold, I waited outside for 3 hours until she finally returned. Her voice was irritable as she rattled off the new code. 1024, if you can't remember it, don't come back. I don't have time for your problems. Only when she said it did I realize. It was their day of holding hands. I remembered because when Daisy had posted a picture of them holding hands, Daisy and I had a huge fight. I had accused her of lacking boundaries, and we hadn't spoken for 3 days. How ridiculous. Over 10 years in this house, not a single number related to me, but in less than 3 years, she had given him something I had always longed for. 2.5 days left until I left the country. Returning inside, I opened a suitcase and started packing my things. The closet was overflowing with Daisy's clothes. I realized then that not much of mine was actually there. I used to be poor, always saving money for her. In winter, I would even skip buying myself a coat. But later, I found out that all that saved money had gone to Leo. With a sigh, I folded my few items of clothing and placed them carefully in the suitcase. A text message from Daisy popped up on my phone. "I booked IVF for tomorrow. Rest well tonight. Stop acting like everyone owes you this time. Make it work. I'm starting to think it's you who can't get pregnant." I just replied with a simple, "Got it," explaining nothing more. After all, I was canceling IVF and leaving soon. Whether or not she could have a baby now wasn't my concern anymore. After tidying up the few things that were mine, I suddenly remembered the IVF documents in the nightstand drawer. I picked them up for a quick look and noticed a few condoms missing from the box. I clearly remembered Daisy buying them, and we hadn't used any since we couldn't conceive. Daisy always thought the problem was with me. Over time, she had lost interest in being intimate. I opened my phone and scrolled through Daisy's social media. Sure enough, I found a picture posted yesterday. It was of Leo in our living room. I stood there, dumbfounded, a strange urge driving me. I rummaged through the bedroom trash can. Finally, at the very bottom, I found the evidence: used condoms for 2 people. I collapsed onto the floor, unable to process it. My mind went blank, but my heart ached with a quiet, deep pain. I had initially wanted an amicable separation. Clearly, that was unnecessary now. I called the hospital and told them I wouldn't be attending any future IVF appointments. The staff sounded surprised. "Are you sure? If you don't come, it means canceling the process. All efforts and data will be lost." Are you ready for that? Staring at the trash, I felt no hesitation in canceling. Then, I messaged my lawyer to start drafting the divorce papers. Over a decade of feelings for Daisy disappeared in that moment, like smoke in the wind. Daisy didn't come home all night. So, when I saw her sitting on the couch the next day, I was surprised. Daisy, noticing I was awake, said sarcastically, You're a grown man, waking up almost at noon. People would think I married a pig. Look at Leo, he's up early and working. You're so lazy." I couldn't help but let out a small, humorless laugh. I always used to wake up early to make her breakfast before she went to work. And for just one day of sleeping late, she insulted me. Before, her words would have made me furious, but now I calmly walked past her, ignoring whatever she said. Daisy seemed surprised by my indifference, and her face darkened briefly before she spoke again. After I washed up, she pulled me to sit beside her on the couch. Her expression was odd, almost hesitant, yet she stayed silent. I frowned a bit, annoyed, and asked, "What do you want to say?" Daisy finally broke the silence. "I can't make it to the IVF appointment this afternoon." Without thinking, I replied, "It's fine anyway. I already canceled it." Her attendance didn't matter anymore. Daisy was briefly stunned by my response. I didn't need to guess her thoughts. Before, her excuses would have led to arguments, but now all she got was my indifference. "Fine," she said, her voice flat. Daisy leaned closer, almost unbelievingly asking, "You're not mad?" I chuckled lightly, confused about why I should be angry. I didn't love her anymore, so what was the point? I simply nodded. Daisy seemed satisfied and patted my head patronizingly, which disgusted me, making me turn away. Obliviously, she continued, "You should always be like this. Getting upset over little things is exhausting. Only I could put up with you. Anyone else would have gone mad by now." I looked down silently, browsed travel guides on my phone, saying nothing. As she finished her sentence, I merely said, "Got it?" Then quickly dressed and headed out. The lawyer had just informed me via message that the divorce papers were ready. Initially, I had planned to rest today and pick them up tomorrow, but with Daisy back in the house, I felt restless. The cafe where I was meeting the lawyer was nearby. After retrieving the papers, Daisy soon texted me. Like always, she was asking what she should cook for dinner. Normally, I would rush out to buy whatever she asked for. Daisy had specific tastes, unlike mine. She didn't like onions and cilantro, which I loved, but if she disliked them, they never appeared in my cooking. Yet now, with the divorce papers in hand, I found myself at the grocery store, instinctively grabbing everything I enjoyed. By the time I returned from the store, it was dark. As I opened the door, I was met with the sound of laughter. Daisy and Leo turned to look at me, Daisy's hand casually resting on Leo's leg. I pretended not to notice, swapping my shoes at the entrance. Daisy came over to help me with my jacket, sounding slightly impatient. "Why so late? Leo and I are starving." Seeing Leo's smug face made me frown. Apologetically, he said, "Sorry, Alan. Daisy told me she was cooking, so I came over. If I'm in the way, I'll leave." He made a move to stand, but Daisy pushed him back down, her eyebrows furrowed. "What are you saying? Alan can cook. No trouble, right, Alan?" I placed the groceries down, not wanting to entertain their back-and-forth banter. Calmly, I replied, "If you want to eat, just stay." Their eyes lit up instantly, somewhat disbelieving. Daisy asked me cautiously, "You're not mad, right?" I nodded, focusing on the vegetables in my hands. Daisy stopped bothering me after that and went back to fooling around with Leo on the couch. My flight was the next morning, so this was our last meal together. It felt like bringing a close to our decade-long relationship. So, I put extra care into making this meal. By the time the last dish was served, the room was quiet. I stepped out of the kitchen to see Daisy gently covering Leo with a blanket. My gaze lingered for a moment, and I felt a faint tinge of bitterness. When Daisy saw me step out of the kitchen, her expression soured a little. She pulled me back into the kitchen, chiding, "You said you weren't mad. Why'd it take you so long to cook?" Calmly, I explained, "I made some complex dishes, so it took a bit longer." Without waiting for her response, I sat at the table and started eating alone. Daisy was already a little upset, and seeing the dishes covered in green onions only made it worse. Just as I picked up a bite of rice, She suddenly lost it. She grabbed all the food I had made and dumped it into the trash can. Daisy was furious, but kept her voice low so she wouldn't wake Leo in the living room. She pointed at me accusingly. "Alan, did you do it on purpose?" I didn't answer, just looked regretfully at the food in the trash. I had spent all evening cooking, and I hadn't even tasted it before Daisy threw it away. I sighed and thought, maybe it was destiny. Seeing my calm face, Daisy showed a brief hint of panic. She wanted to apologize but couldn't swallow her pride. So she went to the living room, woke Leo, and left with him in silence. I cleaned up the mess and washed my hands before grabbing my phone. Daisy had updated her profile at 1 a.m. She had posted a picture of a table full of delicious-looking food. It wasn't until I read Leo's comment that I realized she had made it all for him. I chuckled bitterly, and tears started falling as I finished cleaning up. I brushed them away, my cheeks already wet. Funny how it didn't seem like I loved her anymore, yet it still hurt. The next morning, I left the divorce papers in plain view on the kitchen table. I left a note saying, "I have no regrets loving you all these years. I've canceled the IVF. Don't look for me. Goodbye for good." Just as I finished writing, I received a message from Daisy. She apologized, saying, "I was wrong last night. I've neglected you these past days. I'll cook tonight and make it up to you, all right?" With a sarcastic laugh, I ignored the message and turned off my phone. Then, grabbing my luggage, I boarded a plane heading abroad. A few hours on the plane were enough to revisit a decade of memories. The more I thought about it, the more the younger version of myself seemed pathetic. In the early years of our marriage, I had moved to her city alone. Aside from her, I knew no one. So when she asked me to handle things at home so she could start a business, I agreed without hesitation. When her business failed, I gave her $200,000 from my savings to help. But as her company grew, she seemed to forget my sacrifices and often criticized me for doing nothing at home. She constantly praised Leo for all the help he provided. At the time, her words made me feel small and insignificant. As Daisy and Leo grew closer, I feared being left alone, so I pretended not to notice the subtle shifts in their relationship. Painful memories gnawed at my heart, leaving nothing but sorrow. It wasn't until the plane landed that I pulled myself out of those memories. Daisy probably thought I'd stay home, waiting for her to come back and cook. But in reality, I was already in Finland. Once off the plane, I turned on my phone and immediately saw countless messages from Daisy. She kept calling, demanding to know where I was. Even Leo had messaged, scolding me for my behavior toward Daisy. I glanced at the messages and let out a cold laugh. Then, without hesitation, I blocked both their numbers. I wasn't planning to stay in Finland long, so I did some research and found a lodge run by people from back home. As I caught a cab from the airport, I felt the warmth of home even before arriving. But there was a slight hiccup. Having just arrived, I hadn't had the chance to exchange any money. Excited, yet unsure, I stood awkwardly outside the lodge. A young woman checking in noticed my predicament. Speaking fluent Finnish, she explained things to the cabbie and paid for my ride. Grateful, I pulled out my phone to repay her. Looking up, I realized it was Mandy, the lawyer who had drafted my divorce papers. Surprised, I asked, "Mandy, what are you doing here?" She seemed to recall me and laughed. "After months of work, I just wanted a break." I nodded in understanding. Walking into the lodge together, I noticed she was alone too. As I was about to speak, Mandy turned and asked, "Since we're both here, how about dinner together?" Shyly, I nodded and said, "Sure." Just as Mandy was about to say something else, my phone rang. Apologizing, I went to a quiet corner to take the call. It was Daisy on the other end, using a different number. I listened silently, a bit exasperated, as Daisy's angry voice surged through the phone. "Alan, why are you always so moody? What's going on this time? Just because I didn't go with you for IVF, you're going to divorce me." I had thought she might change a bit after I left, but it turned out I was just fooling myself. I had overestimated how much I mattered to her. Annoyed, I hung up, not wanting to hear any more nonsense. I grabbed my stuff and went back to the room to rest. Lying in bed, it all felt kind of surreal. Finland is such a romantic place. Over the years, I had told Daisy many times I wanted to visit. She always said no, blaming work. But later she had posted on social media that she wanted to see the snow, then said it was a business trip. She had taken Leo to Mount Fuji. They stood under cherry blossoms, holding hands, making promises to never depart. I tried to clear my mind and finally got some sleep. 10 long years flashed by like a movie. Waking up, all of it felt like just memories. I sat by the window watching the sunset when Mandy texted me to grab dinner. I said okay, and was about to put my phone away when a video from Daisy popped up on another platform. The caption read, "Only an idiot would refuse such a patient and caring woman. Maybe he sprained his ankle." In the video, Daisy, who was usually a neat freak, was kneeling down, gently putting shoes on Leo. I smirked at the irony. But he was wrong about one thing. Daisy was never like that with me. Her patience and care were always reserved for Leo. I changed my clothes and headed downstairs. Mandy had been waiting for me in the lobby for quite a while. Feeling a bit guilty, I said, "Sorry for keeping you waiting. Something came up." Mandy waved it off, saying it was no big deal. Relieved, I let it go. We went to a popular local restaurant. Only when we got there did we realize it had another name, the Date Spot. We brushed it off and sat down, acting natural. While waiting for our food, Mandy shared her travel plans with me. I was surprised because her plans matched mine. Our next stop was Switzerland. We quickly decided to become travel buddies. The more we talked, the more I realized we had a lot in common. Just as I was happy I wasn't traveling alone anymore, 2 familiar figures walked in. Daisy and Leo. The couple looked so in love, holding each other like a married pair. They were smiling sweetly until they saw me. Daisy, noticing a girl sitting across from me, stormed over without a word. Standing in front of me, she asked, "Who is she?" I didn't even have time to respond before Leo interjected, "Alan, are you mad at Daisy? So you're out with another woman?" Mandy looked a bit lost, sitting across from me. I rolled my eyes at the two of them. Daisy, seeing I wasn't planning to explain, lifted her hand in anger. Before it could come down on Mandy, I grabbed Daisy's hand, disgusted. "Daisy, stop acting crazy," I said, letting go, not caring to see her reaction. Daisy was shocked at my move. She stood there, stunned, disbelief on her face. Mandy, annoyed, tried to pull me away, but Daisy clung to my sleeve, looking confused. "Alan, did you leave me for her?" Before I could answer, Leo stepped forward, looking at Daisy in concern. "Daisy, why act so low? Didn't you say you'd be with me once you divorced him? Why hesitate now?" Hearing that, I yanked my hand free with a bitter laugh. I thought they'd finally embrace, celebrating their love. But unexpectedly, Daisy slapped Leo hard, saying, "What nonsense! I'd only marry Alan. You took my joke seriously." I didn't care. I took Mandy's hand and walked away. We didn't stop until the noise behind us faded. I let go of her hand, noticing she was a bit flushed. "Maybe we walked too fast," I awkwardly said. Mandy said nothing, keeping her head down. Thinking she was upset, I quickly added, "With all that drama, we didn't even eat. How about we pick another place? My treat. I heard of this great restaurant in Finland. Want to check it out with me?" Finally looking up, Mandy, with a caring gaze, said, "It must have been rough with all that before." I paused, feeling emotional. All those years with Daisy, I never got even an ounce of sympathy. Yet someone I had known for days now felt sorry for me. I pushed away the sadness, pretending it didn't bother me, and said, "It's okay, we're divorced now. Let's eat, I'm starving." Mandy, seeing I was okay, dropped her low mood, grabbing my sleeve and leading me to another restaurant. She kept chatting to cheer me up. This was a feeling I had never had with Daisy. My heart felt warm. After dinner, we headed back to the inn together. We planned to spend a day in Finland tomorrow, and then head to Switzerland. We were waking up early to catch the northern lights. The next day, Mandy and I spent a busy day setting up a tent in the snow. At dusk, the northern lights slowly appeared in the dark sky. I snapped a photo and posted it on social media. Mandy, who was excited to see the lights, pulled me to the campfire. We gazed at the sky and made wishes together. In the past, I might have wished for Daisy and my family's safety, and for my business to thrive, but now I just wanted to see my family again. Mandy noticed my mood after I made my wish. She curiously asked me what was wrong. I forced a smile and shared a secret I had been keeping for years. Years ago, when I was dating Daisy, I thought we'd live happily with our parents' blessings, like others. But on the day we met the parents, my mom pulled me aside. She told me, "I won't agree to your marriage." I was puzzled and asked why. She hesitated and finally said, "Your astrology signs don't match, and that girl doesn't seem to like you much." My dad also gently advised me to marry someone else. At that time, I didn't listen, thinking my mom just didn't like Daisy. So when I insisted on marrying Daisy, and my mom threatened to cut ties, I thought she was just angry. Little did I know that for over 10 years after our marriage, we stayed out of contact. 3 years into the marriage, my dad called saying, "Your mom didn't want you two together because we overheard her on a call. Your mom's just too stubborn to reach out, and so are you." I was too caught up in my new marriage bliss to care, and never got back to them. Now I believed my dad. Maybe Daisy was seeing someone else even before we got married. I chuckled bitterly, feeling a pang of guilt. "Do you think it's too late to apologize to them now?" Mandy comforted me, saying, "It's never too late. After all, they're your parents." There was a spark of hope in my eyes. One reason I couldn't face my mom was I had asked Daisy the same question, and her response was, "This is our home now. Your parents didn't want us together, so why bother?" I figured my mom must hate me as much as Daisy said, so I never reached out to them. But Mandy gave me a clear answer. I decided that once I got back from Switzerland, I would apologize to my parents. The photo I posted accidentally caught Mandy's silhouette. Friends, unaware of my recent divorce, commented, "You two are still so in love. Amazing after all these years. I'm so envious of your long-lasting love." Seeing their comments, I had to explain to each one, but there were too many. So I posted a status clarifying that Daisy and I had divorced. Mandy and I spent a few more days in Finland, then headed to Switzerland. In a few short days, we got along like old friends. We never argued, and were surprisingly in sync over the smallest things. I couldn't help but remember the honeymoon trip with Daisy, our only vacation together. We had argued for 6 out of the 7 days, with peace only on the flight home, where silence was necessary. Perhaps everything was destined. Even fate showed our incompatibility early on, but I had ignored it. On our last day, we went skiing in Engelberg. Mandy was all geared up and eager to try skiing. Though she wasn't skilled yet, she stood at the edge, inching along. But she was quick to learn. Watching others, she quickly got the hang of it. I stayed behind her, ready to catch her if she fell. It was a warm moment, interrupted by someone skiing past too fast, spraying a snow wave over a meter high. Instinctively, I shielded Mandy. Once the snow settled, Mandy glanced over my shoulder. My field of vision was covered in snow, so I couldn't see her expression. She laughed, dusting the snow off my shoulders. I asked what was so funny. Mandy wiped the snow off my goggles and pointed. The skier who had caused the snow wave had fallen in the nearby clearing. I looked at the clumsy figure and chuckled. Then, the skier removed their helmet, revealing a familiar face. Daisy was pouting, looking off into the distance. Following her gaze, I noticed Leo watching. Maybe my stare was too intense. Daisy glanced my way too. We made brief eye contact. A flash of panic crossed her face, but vanished quickly. I turned away, pretending not to notice, and focused on helping Mandy ski. Sensing my change in mood, Mandy became a bit quieter, too. I lost track of when Daisy, holding his skis, returned to the starting point. As he was about to dash down, he passed right by us, his skis pointed up, just like earlier when he scattered the snow around. But this time we clearly saw his move. It turned out Daisy had recognized me, and he was purposefully kicking up snow in our direction. I was just about to get back at him for that, but Mandy beat me to it. She grabbed some snow from the ground and threw it right in Daisy's face. Before he could even glide onto the open space, he slipped and fell. Mandy and I doubled over, laughing hard. Daisy got up, glared at us like he wanted to tear us apart. But Mandy and I didn't care. She even made a silly face at him. Daisy couldn't take it anymore, and walked over to Mandy. "Aren't you going way too far? Is this how you blatantly bully people?" Leo followed behind Daisy. I pulled Mandy behind me, blocking her. I knew she had done it for me, so when Leo messed with her, I had to step in. Seeing my move, Daisy's eyes turned a bit red. She looked at me pitifully and said, "Alan, why are you defending her?" I let out a sarcastic laugh and retorted, "Should I be defending you instead?" Daisy pointed at me with a trembling hand. "Alan, we've been married so long. How can you take someone else's side?" I impatiently reminded her, "Did you forget we're already divorced? Need me to read you the divorce papers again?" Daisy was left speechless. Then Leo suddenly interjected. "Alan, it's bad enough you treat Daisy like this, but why talk to Mandy that way? You've been with Daisy for years. Sneaking here to ski with someone else behind her back is one thing. But now you blame her? Have you no shame?" I had underestimated Leo's nerve to twist things around. Dealing with these two pests, my patience wore thin fast. "If you care so much, keep her out of trouble, all right?" Mandy added from behind. "Yeah, exactly." After that, I took Mandy's hand, planning to find a quieter place to ski. Daisy yelled my name hopelessly from behind. "Alan, have you really forgotten all our years together?" I didn't turn back and just replied, "You're right, I did." We walked away until they were out of sight, and I finally let out a sigh. It's not like you can just forget so many years of memories, but these recent happy days helped me push aside my worries, making my decision clearer. Even though Daisy and I were in the same place, traveling after she saw my divorce note, she didn't come to stop me. When we ran into each other, she pretended to be sad, just to give a fake attempt at winning me back. Mandy saw my pale face and comforted me with some praise. "Do you realize how amazing you were just now? It takes real guts to say goodbye to your past. I couldn't do it." Her words made my eyes light up. "Really?" Mandy nodded firmly, giving me a thumbs up. "You're brave. You deserve it." I couldn't help but laugh. The dark mood instantly dissolved. I was brave. After years with Daisy, being used to each other, leaving took serious courage, and I had it. The short trip was over fast. Mandy and I boarded the plane back home. We eventually went our separate ways in the same city, but we promised each other we'd go diving in the Maldives when spring arrived. Even though we had just parted, I was already excited for it. Daisy somehow knew I was back home. I had barely gotten off the plane when she showed up at the airport. I was stunned for a bit, but noticed Leo wasn't with her. Seeing my thoughts, she quickly said, "I fired Leo. I'm done with having anything to do with him." I softly responded, "Oh," adding, "What's it got to do with me?" Daisy hesitated, not getting mad. She silently followed me until I hailed a cab. Just then, she asked if I was going to see my parents. I didn't answer. She knew what it meant. I didn't bother with her as I got into the cab. Daisy tried to join, but I blocked her. "Why follow me home?" I shut the door before she could reply. Running into them abroad was annoying enough. In the cab, I dozed a bit, then realized Daisy was tailing us in another car. I sighed in frustration, instructing the driver to take a detour. Luckily, Daisy had only visited my home once, unaware of the exact location. The driver was good, shaking her off soon as we neared my parents' place. My heart started racing. It had been over a decade since we met. Would they even recognize me? The more I thought about it, the guiltier I felt. I didn't even know if the money I had sent to their account over the years had been noticed. As I was lost in thought, the car stopped in front of my house. An elderly person stood at the door, gazing into the distance with a hopeful look in her eyes. I got out of the car and realized it was my mother, whom I hadn't seen for years. Her eyesight wasn't great, but she recognized me the moment I stepped out of the car. She stood at the door, a bit overwhelmed, wiping her hands on her clothes repeatedly. My eyes instantly filled with tears. As one fell down my cheek, I quickly stepped forward and hugged her tightly. "Mom," I said. She seemed stunned at first, just staring at me, but when I said that word, she hugged me tightly in return. Dad heard the commotion and came out too, calling my childhood name with excitement. We hugged each other and cried, but no one mentioned why it had been so long since we last met. My mom, who looked like she had aged 10 years, suddenly had a smile on her face when she saw me. She seemed more vibrant, too. During my time at home, the table was always filled with my favorite dishes. Mom had even bought lots of snacks I loved as a kid, just in case I showed up suddenly and there was nothing to offer. I noticed some of the snacks were way past their expiration date. I tore open a package and ate them in big bites under Mom's hopeful gaze. I ate too fast and choked a bit. Mom laughed with joy, just like she did when I was little, and reached out to help me catch my breath. I joined in her laughter. We laughed until tears ran down our faces. At some point, Daisy had somehow gotten my old home's address. I ran into her while taking out the trash. Noticing she was going door to door with a note, I pulled her aside into a corner. A bit annoyed, I said, "We've broken up. What's the point of this?" Daisy, still not catching on to my accusing tone, stood there unsure before speaking up. "But Alan, I don't want to be apart from you. I already fired Leo. If you don't believe me, go ask the office." She pleaded, "Please don't leave me." I furrowed my brows in frustration, not understanding her persistence. I still spoke with irritation. "I don't care if it's true or not, Daisy. Don't you think saying this now is fake? Saying you don't want to leave me now? What's the point? What about what you did before?" Daisy was stunned by my words and didn't respond for a long time. I remembered her saying, "Others might be young and capable, helping me at work in ways you can't imagine, but look at you. You're not 18 anymore." Right after saying this, I turned to leave. Daisy tried to step forward and grab my hand, but couldn't gather the courage. She watched me walk away and asked one last thing. "Alan, do you really not love me anymore?" I stopped without turning back, saying, "The moment you held Leo while leaving the fire, my heart died." After meeting Daisy again, she never appeared in my life. Later, I heard from a friend that she had somehow gone a bit strange, taking out $20,000 from her shares for charity. Hearing this hardly moved me. I just took it as a casual piece of news. Winter passed into spring. Soon it was time for my planned meeting with Mandy. We hadn't been in touch for a long time, but still met up as if on cue. We walked together under the sunset at the Maldives airport. The dim lights stretched our shadows long, much like our lives ahead, growing wild and passionate.